guys, welcome back. I am Lauren Hollows, and we are here for part 2 of the interview with Nic from Easy Train. We've been talking about the importance of training materials, and you kind of came to an interesting, you picked up on something interesting, and I wanted to kind of follow up on that. So the design of training materials is always something I find really interesting. And when I look at training materials across different providers, that's definitely like a mark of quality that we look for is that storytelling kind of component, or that, I guess, that sensical component. So, when you're saying, when you're making materials for the workplace, obviously you're putting them in that workplace flow, as opposed to that kind of, a statement about against 1.1, a statement against 1.2, a statement against 1.3, which is, it often doesn't necessarily make a huge amount of sense for a learner, right? So can you tell us a little bit about your design process when you start to go about designing training materials? Like, what are the ways that you approach that process with a unit?
Yeah, 100%. But I'll just, on that quick point about doesn't make sense to the learner, I remember when I first started training, we had the very performance criteria sort of based approach to delivery. And on day 2, the students would be like, we did this yesterday. And then I found myself stupidly saying, I know, but it's a different unit. And then I thought, these guys aren't idiots. Like, surely we can do this once. Yeah. So then I went back to our compliance team and I said, can we sort of like rearrange and negate the duplicity? And it just became a bigger argument than it was worth. But I think sometimes, that is a challenge with the performance criteria approach. So how do we do it? Number one, we grab as many units as we can. And this is difficult because some clients have got a different sort of mix of units. But we only grab the ones that will make sense to be clustered together, right? So there has to be natural parity. Think about the Venn diagrams, there has to be a degree of tessellation. Yeah. So we'll grab those, and then I'm not a big fan of printing, but this is one thing that we still kill trees for, and I apologize. And we go through and cut out all the little performance criteria, knowledge, skills, all the way down to the foundation skills. And then we start overlapping as much as we can. And then we sort of cluster it that way. So we group things. Then rather than getting the exact performance criteria, we get themes out of that, so how to manage risks in a project, how to develop the project charter, and you can see all the bits that come out of it. And then we work with industry and we sort of write it from the industry perspective. So we'll work with, project directors, companies that hire project managers, and we'll say, what are the things that are done well? What are the things that are done poorly? Have you got any case studies? Are you prepared to do an interview? That sort of stuff will go into it. Once the learning's been created, then we sort of reverse engineer it. It becomes a validation process. Have we actually covered off this? Have we covered off this? Bang, 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 bang. If the answer is no and we've got gaps, often those gaps are filled out with whatever medium best corresponds to gaps. If it's talking about communication skills, you might say, hey, let's do a video to address that. If it's a more theoretical thing, we might do an e-learning, like a SCORM-based, module to supplement that. But it's develop first with industry, validate, then fix, rather than follow the performance criteria and move on. Did that make sense?
No, it's hilarious because that's exactly the same process that we use for when we develop assessments. We've got about 3 different projects at the moment where we're like, we're following something very, very similar. We're working with industry and we're going, okay, right. So like, here's the questions, and then they're putting in the answers, and then, then we're going, okay, well, let's now talk about the design of the project, and, let's rationale how all of this is going to work. And we design the project together, and then they'll design the documents that support it, and we'll design the base observable, and then they'll quantify, like they'll qualify it and stuff like that. So there's a lot of similarities that I can see kind of in those processes, but it's an industry-led process, and it's more holistic, and there's an actual design component, which I think is where the vast majority of developers, be they like paid developers or developers within RTOs, they skip that design phase and they go straight to like okay, we've got to start writing about this. I'm like, step back, design. Let's just think about the unit. Let's just work out, but so many people miss it.
And it's hard because, we're not starting from a point of clarity. We're starting with often very ambiguous, standards that we've got to articulate. And sometimes someone's interpretations be different to someone else's, whether it's an auditor, a student, an assessor, and so on. I remember we had this question when we first registered with ASQA, and it was, I think it was a Cert 4 in project management said, they must engage project team members, right? So then I actually called them up and I said, well, what does the word engage mean in this context? Does it mean recruit? Does it mean motivate? Like, there's a lot of meanings we could assign to that word. No one knew. And they said, pick one. And I said, okay, cool. But what if the auditor picks a different interpretation? And they said, do them both. And I said, but then won't we get done for over-assessing? And just went in this loop. So I said, who knows? Project managers. So if I go through and I get 10 project managers to say, hey, someone's working at this level, they're managing human resources within a project as a project officer, someone quite junior. What are your expectations when they have to engage project team members? And all of them said motivate. They said, oh, there won't be in a recruiting capacity at that level. They'll be motivating them. They'll be getting them, ingrained in the team culture. So I just took all of those notes and I was ready for any auditor because no one can refute that, So I feel with our approach, it creates that defensible position that you don't have to argue. You can say, look, I've consulted industry. They're the employers. They're the ones the qualification's written for. It takes the guesswork out of it.
Yeah. And I mean, that's textbook. What the standards basically say is that, this is industry led. So, that is the process that, RTOs should be following. But I think the reason why a lot of RTOs choose to work with providers like yourselves and with ourselves is because they don't have the time and potentially they don't have the capability to actually go out and think about it and go, okay, this is potentially going to be a sticking point. We need to, have a process in place. We need to have some evidence in place in order to be able to do that. So I think that is one of the reasons why you do have providers that are kind of going, oh, we're not going to be able to get this done. So we do need to be working with somebody else.
Yeah, no, 100%. And even if it's that confidence piece, I'm not talking about full risk transfer because there's the inherent risk, but, for me, if I own an RTO, I can say, look, I actually vetted this, company, whatever the company is, and I looked at their process. This is what they were doing. I felt very comfortable in that. I feel there is a degree of, responsibility that they've taken on board by getting a company that specialized in it rather than one that has relied on AI. I'm not throwing AI under the bus here because I think there's a lot of good things, but yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So, okay, next question. Yeah. What is online training and what is it not?
I thought it was gonna be like a quiz night. I got super excited. I was like, all right, I'm good at general knowledge. I'm good at science-based stuff, but no. All right. I did this talk not too long ago about the etymology, like the history of online training, coming from the 1800s when the fax was invented, the gramophone, all of this sort of stuff, and just how it changed. And it always was trying to address one problem, and that was distance, the proximal issue that we have connecting a learner with a facilitator, which came through the emergence of that correspondence learning and so on. Sadly, when I did that, a lot of people are still utilizing that model, rather than posting papers, they were sending emails, and that was correspondence, so sometimes that gets seen as online training.
I put the PDF up online for them. I don't understand how this is not online training.
100%. Yeah, exactly. I put the PowerPoints, how can they not learn? And then you get the other extreme, which is, and I guess there's a balance with what online is. Is it synchronous or is it asynchronous, And the other extreme is when you've got a facilitator that's actually guiding a cohort through and then also letting them learn on their own time. So online is so broad. So what online training is, I think it's just a broad chasm. But anything that uses a degree of technology can qualify as online. I think if we reframe the question, what does great online training look like?
Yeah, okay.
Then I can speak in the alternative, as you've raised, putting a PDF online is probably not great online training.
Great online training, no, not great.
Leaving your students to a faceless world, probably not a great online training world. Not having support, making them feel alone, not motivating them, probably not a great online training world. So for me, great online training is something that probably doesn't even replicate the face-to-face environment, but like exceeds it and makes the learners go, man, I'm so glad I chose that path. Because there's so many benefits, learning online. You can learn when you want, you can fit around your time, but then there's so many challenges, the student syndrome, the motivational aspect.
So do you think that great online learning does need to have that combination of the synchronous and the asynchronous in order to be really effective? Like, I mean, I think about, the most effective online training that I've had over the years. And there, I mean, that there has been both of those components in there of like times when you could get together and collaborate. So that obviously had to be more synchronous. But then there was also time, that I knew was going to work for me. And that's always been late nights for me when the kids are asleep and everyone's gone away and I'm not getting, constant emails. That was my time when I could actually engage in something and digest it and everything like that. So, how do RTOs figure out what is that right blend of, synchronous and asynchronous kind of learning for their cohorts?
Yeah, there's this weird concept, and it's pretty high level. So I don't know the academic level of our viewers, but there's a weird concept called just asking people. And I think we just casually ignore that one. We don't send out surveys. We don't connect to our learners and say, hey, what's working for you? And what's not working for you.
Send out the surveys. I just don't think
just speak to them, just connect with your learners and just find out, is this fit for purpose? Because it may not be wrong. Like one approach may have sensational results on one human and totally different on someone else. So in answer to the previous question, I don't think, great online training necessitates that synchronous interaction. Some of the aspects of our training packages, I think it makes sense, when they've got communication skills, interaction skills, and then that can actually be a forum or a modality to sort of capture that evidence at the same time. So, if you can use it to kill birds with one stone, I think it's great. If you're using it just because you feel you need to have it on there, that's probably, less value, I guess. Yeah.
Fair point. All right, we are going to take one more break and then come right back. And I've got a couple more questions for you. So guys, again, this is Lauren from NOI Education Services with Nic from Easy Train. Thank you for following us so far. Make sure you come back for part 3 and we will see you very, very shortly.